Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we are back in the main bay today, and we'll be working on the Corvette yet again. I apologize for sweating profusely, but it was over 100 degrees today, and it's actually almost 9 o'clock at night, and it's still in the 90s, so we're trying to do as best as we can. We got the fans going, so I apologize if that's making some noise in this video. But what we'll be working on today is actually a new intake for the Corvette. Actually, it's a new to me intake. I bought this probably a solid year ago. I've been kind of waiting on it, sitting on this for parts, and the Corvette finally came back. And you guys might be wondering, well, don't you already have an intake? I do, but I actually bought a kind of a better intake, and I just want to see if it'll fit. And what we ended up buying was a Kong Performance 5-inch intake for the LS9 2650 setup. You guys can see we have, it is carbon fiber. There is a sticker on there. I do have tape over it because I've been mocking it up, just making sure that the hood won't slam on that shut. And we have the provided Kong coupler, and we also have another adapter coupler. Now that adapter coupler is going from 5 inches, think down to 4 inch. I think that's the stock size throttle body. Yeah, it's a 4-inch intake. And so I picked this up from Silicone Intakes on eBay, and like I said, it is a 45, because that's what I thought we were gonna need. We weren't gonna need a straight piece because the Edelbrock supercharger is curved to one side. So I bought that 45 because it's the only one I saw that was angled. And what we'll be doing today is basically taking the Kong intake, seeing if it will fit, and if it will, we'll go ahead and cut up that silicone intake coupler, this one, and basically try to make it fit. So, all right guys, you can see we have the Kong intake kind of mocked up with the coupler that was provided by Greg. And you guys can see we obviously don't have our 102mm throttle body on here, but yeah, this is our standard. I think it's a 90 or 92mm stock, whatever the stock throttle body is. But yeah, so as you guys can see, the coupler actually goes from where it ends as far as you could slide on, and the intake actually ends. See, you guys can see right there where that stops bending, where that starts bending. That's pretty much where the intake stops. And I kind of mocked that up on our piece, kind of lined it up like edge to edge. You guys can see this here, kind of, you know, drew an imaginary line from there to there. Then you guys can see I kind of continue the end of the throttle body opening. Kind of continued an imaginary line there. So if you guys can see between those 2 points, that's pretty much all that we're going to use of this coupler. Now, obviously we're going to cut this long and try to get this mocked up and try to get this on there. Alright, so we already showed you the mock-up with the Kong coupler. Now we're going to go ahead and start cutting up on the silicone intakes coupler, and like I said, I'm going to take this slow. I'm going to go grab a new razor blade, as well as I'm going to take a hose clamp, and I'm actually going to make sure we cut along the hose clamp. That way we make sure our cuts are straight and nothing gets too lopsided one way or the other. So let's go ahead, get the clamps on here, and we'll start cutting. Alright guys, you can see we have the intake actually fully installed. The coupler's on there with 2 hose clamps. It's all tight. You guys see that we did cut this, and guys, I thought I was being conservative with my cut, but apparently cut a little bit too much on the 4-inch side, and the 5-inch side was just fine. And I actually was a little bit of an off on the angle on the 4-inch side. You guys could see that, I mean, that's fairly straight. There's a little bit of a peak on it, but you guys can see there's a gap here, and this 5-inch part, there's a gap. I mean, it's fully secure and tightened down, but I would obviously prefer this to be more straight. So I think 2 things happened. I cut this at a little bit of the wrong angle, and this I cut a little bit. Actually, I think if I'd cut this at the better, little less of the wrong angle, actually you guys can see, so that's flat. You guys can see on top, that's actually fairly aggressive. So we were close, but I'm not real happy with how this is the final result. So what I'm going to do is actually order another one of these couplers. It was only like 20 bucks. I think it was $25. And yes, I kind of wasted $25, but this was a proof of concept, and I was willing to take that risk to see if this was even going to work. And yeah, so I've already closed the hood. Now, I'm not going to fire it up. It's really late tonight, and I don't want to wake up the neighbors or anything, but I actually need to clean this off because there's burrs. I didn't clean any of this out. And you know, when you're cutting this stuff with basically sharp razor blades, you want this stuff to all be clean, and I'm probably going to try to burn the edge of this a little bit. and just burn some of that cotton off just that way, so everything's super clean when we put it back together. So yeah, we'll do that, and then we're gonna call this a night, and we will pick this up when that new coupler comes in. All right guys, real quick update. We did manage to modify the shroud that we installed last week. As you guys can see, we do have a cutout section here, and you do see a couple marks. I am going to expand this a little bit and just take a little bit more material out so that we can get our Kong intake over the radiator shroud from Quartz Performance without issue. Then on the end, you guys will see that I actually added a nut cert on both sides, because this thing originally came with a nut and bolt on the back. And after dropping it more than once, I was like, oh, that's not going to work. So I added a nut cert on the back, you know, through this slotted hole. And then, if you guys can see, I just did cut a little bit short. You guys will see I did file that a little bit. But like I said, I did cut that a little bit short just because it was almost hitting the radiator. And by adding a nut cert on each side, it has made the install of this shroud that much easier. All you have to do is put a screw in it and you're done. And like I said, I have trial fit this a couple times. I'm going to cut this one more time, and I think we'll be good to go. So let's go ahead and get that modified. We'll get the intake back on, and we should be done. Alright guys, so as we mentioned last night, we did need to cut this off a little bit more. So we cut off another 1/4 inch on both sides, and we should be good. I'm going to clean this up with a file. We're going to go test fit this, and if everything works, we'll be done with this install, and we're going to put some flat black paint on here. I've got some touch-up paint that we can use. Put that on here, and we should be done. Alright guys, we have pretty much finished up the Kong intake install, and we got everything fitting. It's not hitting the hood, and it's no longer hitting the Quartz Performance cross piece right here, the top of the shroud. As you guys saw earlier, I did have to cut this, make it a little bit wider. I actually had to cut the driver's side once again, and now we've got a solid 1/4 inch of room on the bottom, the side, and the passenger side as well. I then ran the Kong breather port. I actually just plugged it because, as you guys know, I've got a vented catch can on here. And I did install the MAF sensor, but I am missing the bolt that didn't come with the intake that I bought. So I went to go find another piece of hardware, place that. But other than that, everything's good to go. You guys know I am waiting on a coupler. I did order that. That's going to take a couple days, but I want to get this video done and knocked out. So if we have any more updates on that, I'll include that in a later video. That's going to be it for the Kong intake on our Edelbrock TVS 2300. So as you guys saw, it was kind of a custom install, just trimming a couple things, trimming our upper radiator shroud and trimming our coupler. And so you guys that actually have the stock upper radiator shroud, be aware, you're probably going to have to cut that too. You may actually have to cut that more severely, depends on what engine mounts you're running. I've got the Hinson lowering mounts, I've got the Lingenfelter subframe spacers for the motor, and I also have my own mounts lowering the radiator cradle as well. So like we're as low as we can go, and that thing still didn't fit. So you know, you're gonna have to trim stuff, lower engine mounts, whatever. So just be aware of that. And so yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more Corvette content, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. If you guys want to help support the channel, check out the links down below. We'll drop you some links for some of the stuff that we use today, and make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Thanks guys, have a great one.